This is the TXT and this is yet another chart revamp. But before we talk about charts at TxTs Treasury, let's take a look at the ones in my YouTube dashboard. Well, hello new people. Anyways, let's get the show started. But first we need to rewind a bit. Perfect. So this all looks pretty much the same, but how the data actually gets into those charts has now changed substantially. This right here is the update method, and as you can see, this is now referencing a new API endpoint for a report. So in place of that was all the calculations before, as you can see in this old screenshot. In its place, we now have a function on the backend that creates such a report. And that all works pretty well actually already. I even managed to fix a bug that the old implementation had that I didn't even really know existed until now. Yeah, but as you can see, this is the function for the first report, this is the one for the second report, and this is the one for the third report. They all look like mostly the same, and in fact I pretty much just copy and pasted all of them. So that means it's now time to actually refactor this all a little bit and clean it up. Now this is one of the new refactored report functions. As you can already tell, instead of fitting just one on the screen at once, now I can actually fit all three of them. That's because I of course broke out some of the functionality into, well, their own little functions. We have some of them down here, and then I also tried my hand at, creating my own map struct with some functions on that, so I can do some easier function chaining here. Okay, well, so now I almost forgot about these two things up here. Those are still generated on the front end side by just, adding all the transactions together. But in the future, of course, I don't want to actually store all of the transactions on the front end. So I will need to quickly build some report API endpoints for these as well. And well, there's again not a single visual change, but the current balance counters here are now calculated on the backend as well. So that means it is now finally time to, get on with the first visual change. And that is gonna be, of course, a new chart, actually a new type of chart as well. So that's gonna be very exciting. And here we have it. Now it's a spending per recipient chart that kind of gives you a breakdown how much you spent for or at different recipients over a specific time range. I had a bit of a challenge here because, a recipient can receive money in different currencies, of course. So as you can see, I've now added a bit of a breakdown to the label here, also as you can see down here. And then I'm just adding all the different values of the money together, which of course is not a perfect solution if you have different currencies that have a vastly different value, but for euros and US dollars it's close enough, so it will be fine. Now the last thing that I still have to implement here is of course the range. So right now this actually just shows the past 90 days, but I've already added a couple of options here. They just don't really do anything yet. So I want to do something that's a little bit easier to use than just entering 2 dates like I have with the other charts. So I just want to convert to using basic range control like this one. So in the future I would also like to do something similar to net data, where you have one big control that basically does both of these things, right? So you can select a range over here in a calendar type view, or you can also just say, for example, direct just last 12 hours, last day, last 2 days, or you can say I want the last 3 months, for example. But that's gonna be a little bit too much work for now, so I'll be sticking with a simpler solution. And with that, the current date control is fully implemented. I just have some limited options right now, but of course, as I said, in the future there will be more custom options, so you can get exactly what you want. But for now we have the last 28 days, the last full month, the current month to date, the last 90 days, the complete last quarter, or the current year to date, or the last 365 days, or everything combined. Now the last thing that is still really missing here, I think, is the colors, because I've only set 2 colors, and as soon as there are more than that, it's all the same. Now to generate the colors, I could do it with the random approach like I did for all of the other charts. But as you can tell, that often leads to very unreadable colors. Sometimes it works out, but yeah, many times you just get colors that are barely visible. So what I want to do instead is just use a gradient of some sorts. So yeah, I'm gonna try my hand at that now. Alright, yeah, so I actually kind of like this little gradient here. The best thing about it is, of course, that it is well, fully calculated, so I can have an infinite amount of items in here, and the gradient will always be between the darkest and the lightest color. Alright, and just like that, there is another graph here, now spending per tag instead of recipient. Basically works exactly the same, and even now has no data display, so you don't just see nothing when there's no data in the selected range. Yeah, now the only problem is that, for example, for the last 28 days, it's actually just a single transaction here. As you can see, it is that first one with 3 tags. So now you can basically just see that 3 times. Anyways, what I also now want to do is, well, allow you to only look at the parent tags. So say, for example, you have a parent tag called electronics, and that has children like smartphone and PC. Then yeah, you would only see the electronic tag in here instead of smartphone and PC. But yeah, hopefully I can get that done as well. Alright, I think I've now broken my brain in half, but hey, this only parents toggle now works properly, I think, at least. So we have the grandchild, and then we have the grandchild, which is the parent of the grandchild. Then we have test 3, which is the parent of the grandchild. And then test 2 is the parent of test 3. So we are like 3, or depending on your count it, 4 layers deep, I guess. But now if we hit that toggle, then boom, all of those get added together correctly, while the other ones don't get touched. Yeah, I'd rather not show the code for that right now. I think I still have to do some cleaning up there, but yeah, it's working now, I guess, which is the important part. Okay, and with that I have implemented the last thing for this video, I guess. So now the date range control is for, yeah, available on every chart, basically. And yeah, you can just go in and choose, and then you can also change those in there and do that for all the other charts as well, of course. Yeah, and so while I was updating all the existing charts to use this new date control component here, I kind of got to thinking and thought, yeah, this is like I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again. Maybe I should kind of try and now start to sort of consolidate the logic for building all of those charts. So that's what I'm probably gonna try over the next couple of days. Just trying to bring all the different charts together into a single component for the front end side, and also maybe work towards unifying all the report functions on the back end as well. After much blood, sweat and tears, I have now managed to put all of the line charts into a single component. And as you can see, I also took that opportunity to, well, redo the coloring here a little bit, and also tweak some of the styling, so it looks okay. Of course, I will have to see how this looks like with my real data set, and then I will be able to tell if this was an improvement or not. But for now, I think this is at least a little bit better than it was before. And yeah, then the next part is, of course, to give the pie charts the same treatment and consolidate them into a single component as well. Yeah, so this is basically how the new component looks like. It's basically the same. All the major changes are that we are now taking in some props For the type, so that can be now currency, recipient, or accounts, an API path that is used to get the data from, and a label property that tells us basically what property of the object to use to print this little label here. Because for accounts and recipients, that's just the name, while for the balance, I've chosen the symbol. And that's pretty much it for today. I also created a new custom pie chart component, just like I did with the line charts. The theme for the next update will be theming. That's right, I want you to be able to at least choose a color theme. That will also of course mean that I have to implement a user settings page. Exciting! Well then, get subscribed so you don't miss that, have a great time, and see you all in the next video.